Oh shit, my hair's all wrong. Gotta make sure I'm pretty. All right, and welcome to the Pagey train. Today I have in the studio with me Ross Fader, DJ Ross Fader. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked to get you on the show, man. I've been listening to your show. Literally religiously, actually.
Wow, I appreciate that.
I discovered it by accident. It was just, you just popped up in my feed.
Yeah.
And it said live, because normally you see clips of people.
Yep.
And it's not live clips. I go, oh wow, he's running a live clip. And I was in a mall at the time, I had a headset on. And I'm just doing my shopping, listening to DJ Ross Fader. So what got you into doing that, man? Like doing the live broadcast?
So the show actually started about 3 years ago. And I'd been DJing for like 20 years, like loved Night Force. It was my favourite label. I've got, 150 records that are just from that label. And like through buying records off Christopher Howe, like Lunacy, DJ Lunacy runs Night Force. We just had this kind of connection from constantly like getting the stuff, and I was doing little live broadcasts just using my phone. Yeah. Just setting it up on the top of a shelf and recording straight down. So I was doing that for like every week for, a few months. And then he just messages me out of the blue one day and he's like, you play old school, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, I play old school, drum and bass. Like I play a bunch of things. And he's like, do you want a spot on Night Force Radio? Because we're starting up this internet radio channel. And we need some kind of spots from different places around the world. So, I ended up being the first Australian spot. And, my spots moved around here and there, just based on work and stuff like that, and when you can find the time to do it.
And there'd be time zone considerations in there as well, obviously,
absolutely,
being on this side of the planet.
So I do my show live on Saturday morning, like 11 a.m. here, which is actually kind of 1 a.m. Friday, like Saturday morning in the UK. But then recordings get replayed on Wednesday night over there at like some reasonable time, like 8 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah, okay. But Night Force is pretty big, yeah?
Yeah, well, it's the longest running kind of hardcore label. Like a lot of labels that started in the early 90s kind of fizzled out before before the year 2000, and they managed to just keep going, pull through, and like evolve as music has evolved. But now it's kind of come full circle where that early 90s sound is back, and it's back like in a massive way, so much so that like big commercial people like Calvin Harris are making like early 90s style breakbeat pianos, women's vocals, like just the early 90s vibe music. It's absolutely blown up. Like last year it started, and now it's just reaching like a massive scale.
Yeah, look, I listen to a variety of music. See, myself, I'm like, I'm in a metal band, do lots of metal, hard rock.
That's what I grew up with, and yeah, like.
But I got really turned on to dance and like EDM sort of stuff. I ended up accidentally at a rave. Yeah, and like I didn't know what a rave was. Like I think I would have been 19. Yeah, when I went to my first rave, I was on a island in Townsville.
Wow.
And, man, we had an awesome time. But I think that's what triggered that was what you were talking about is that female vocals and those keys.
Yeah.
I think the song that really got me hooked into it was like, that song, Touch Me in the Morning.
Yep.
And Last Thing at Night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was dancing in the sand to that. Ugh. And then fast forward a couple of years later, there I am with goggles on, a big smiley jacket, big ass shoes, just dressing as ridiculously as I could.
Well, that's what happens. Yep.
Yeah, and you get hooked into it. But on the other end of it, I still go to metal shows as well.
Yeah.
So how did you find the transition between going to like listening to metal and then doing DJing?
Well, growing up, like I'm like 15, 16. I'm doing all the shows at the Horden. Like I'm seeing Machine Head, Slipknot, like just everything that came out. Pantera, I saw them in their last show before Dimebag and all
awesome.
that thing went down.
Well, that's not awesome. It's awesome that you saw the show.
And like I loved metal. And then I had a friend like a year younger than me, and he's like, it's New Year's Eve coming up. He's like, do you want to go to this thing called Utopia? And I've got no idea what it is. I'm like, it's at Australia's Wonderland. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to go to Australia's Wonderland.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So ended up going to that, and that was just like an all night, I think it was like 9 p.m. till 6 a.m. Outdoor kind of massive rave with like 20,000 people, and just the sun coming up and like dancing and getting covered in like dirt. Like,
yeah, it can get pretty gritty.
Yeah, horribly dirty. But after that, I was just hooked, and then just started going. Like, back then, there was raves on every weekend. So, and sometimes even two, like a Friday night, and then one on Saturday night, and they were all getting heaps of people like going to them. It was just a normal thing, and it was all warehouses or like garages that had been cleared out, or like just derelict buildings and stuff.
Well, it was very underground. Well, I think some parts of it still are underground, right? Yeah. I've been to I've been to a few bush doofs as well. I've been to some really bad bush doofs, but I've been to some really good ones as well.
I have been to a couple of those, like Safari and Rabbits Eat Lettuce up in Byron Bay, and that was like, because that vibe of like early raves kind of like filtered out as they went on, and they became something like more commercial and less like special. Yeah. And then I went to a doof, and I'm like, wow, they've still got that. They've still got that kind of like, that heart. This is a special kind of joining of like people and music and stuff. Yeah,
it's got that uniqueness of being fringe as well, because it's always fun to find the fringe. Yeah. When I talk to mates in my metal band, the metal band that I'm in, I think that sometimes they don't understand that I like this kind of music as well. Yeah. And so it's rare to find someone who actually is across the spectrum on that sort of thing. Like I just love it all. Yeah. I'm really into all of it.
Yeah, me too. Like, and yeah, I get some people can like hate on other scenes, but in every bit of music, there's something good. Like, there's something that will relate to the music you like. It might be like a drum pattern, or it might be like a bass line or something. Like, there's something good in everything. Even songs that I hate, I'm like, well, there is one bit that I kind of don't mind. I'd just like to take that out and put it in my song.
Yeah, well, I think that's the power of doing what you're doing. Yeah, like, you can take a sample and then go, well, how can I work this? You know, that's what I find intriguing. It's something that I've always wanted to do. Not that I don't wear enough hats. I think putting the Pagey trained DJ hat on is a bit too far from me at this point in my life. But I certainly have been fascinated by it. How you can, especially layering. I like it when mashups. Yeah, I love a good mashup.
Yep. Even like when I'm building a tune, I might have like 10 or 11 channels just of like different break beats over the top of each other to really get that like crunchiness and really get that just like immersion in drum beats. Yeah.
Well, I think I see that's the thing. I do get immersed in it. I do, especially in a good drum beat. You get immersed in a good drum beat and a good bass line, especially as well when they use cultural references, cultural referencing, and putting those as layers, because you go on this journey. And that's what I like about what you've been doing on Saturdays, man. You go on a journey. Yeah. I really enjoy the journey, because then you do all these references. I think one reference is it is sometimes a typical reference is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know, we are the dream makers.
Yes, right? yes.
I really enjoy that sort of thing, because those cultural references, and then it will switch over and start to break down. You're like, yeah, man, this is cool.
Well, that's one of the funnest things for me, like as a producer, is finding samples that are either like weird or haven't been used, or using a sample in a different way and making a whole new song around it.
You want some more?
Yeah, cheers, bud. Yeah, that's one of the funnest things, and it's kind of like train spotting. Like, it's like, oh, where do I know that sample from? Yeah. Oh, that was from this tune in 1993, and then someone else is like, yes, but before that, it was from this tune in 1983. Yeah. And then back and back and back, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I really dig that as well. Sometimes finding the point of origin, because sometimes you think that something's original, and you find that it's not. Yeah. I think in the world of metal, I think if you go to the point of origin, the guy that's done everything is Alice Cooper. If you're doing anything on stage, you're ripping off Alice Cooper in some way, whether you know it or not. Yeah, totally. I just find those crossovers are really great, especially as a filmmaker as well, because you go to sample different music, because music is
really,
it frames a lot of things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But you had been doing the Night Force broadcast now for you said 3 years?
About 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, okay, and that's been every Saturday. So how long does a set go for? Is it a 2 hour set? I think it's a 2 hour set. You do?
It's usually an hour. But some days, because no one plays after me, if I'm in the zone and I'm having heaps of fun, I'll just keep playing.
Yeah, okay.
If people are there listening and enjoying it, you don't want to stop.
Yeah. But I think sometimes predicting audiences on a live feed is it's near impossible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you can be just on the smallest day and you've got a big audience.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because a few weeks ago I'm like, I'll start it up and then it just skyrocketed. I've got like heaps of people watching and I'm like, it's raining outside. That's that was that weekend with all the massive storms.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that's good to know.
yeah, okay. So weather dependent, geographically dependent. So what's your setup like though? So you broadcast from, you got a little studio set up?
I've got a little studio. So I've got 2 webcams. And a Pioneer XDJ R1. It's like a all-in-one unit. And yeah, I've got turntables as well. I should play them more to not lose that skill, but it's just so much easier to play digital these days.
But that's an interesting fact, right? Like, because if you go back, especially when people started blending albums together, it was all done on turntables.
Yep.
It was all done on vinyl, right?
Yeah.
So there's this sort of physical application to what you're doing, and now that we're moving into a more of a digital spectrum, it must be having an effect, right?
Well, I'm still buying heaps of vinyl, so it's. I still love to hold it and to look at the sleeve, look at the artwork and go, okay, this is tangible, it's in my hand, and then I put it in the shelf. And now, like with Night Force, every record that you buy, like you have to buy the record to get the digital versions of it.
Yeah, okay.
Like they don't...
Oh, so they make you do the physical purchase so you get the digital package.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like they sell digital like MP3s as well, but if you want the like exclusive kind of limited stuff, buy the vinyl and you get the digital.
Oh, that's a good model. That's a really good model, because it's going to inspire people.
Yeah, and it's working, and the feeling of mixing records, like there's nothing like it. Like it's incredibly difficult, and it's incredibly like cumbersome when you have a gig and you've got to lug like 40 records in like a record box. I think I've got like major spine issues from doing that all through the early 2000s. Yeah. And now I just put a USB in my wallet and my headphones,
and it's all there.
That's it.
It's all there. But you still scratch though, right? You can still scratch with it.
Yeah, you can. I can't, but people can.
Yeah, okay.
It is a digital platter, so you can kind of move it around like a vinyl and have it in vinyl mode. But yeah, that's something that I've never been very good at. I think it's like one of those things where you have to like pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time.
Yeah, it's like drummers, man. You've got to be able to separate your feet and your hands. It's a difficult task. I'm still stuck in a 4/4. Every time our drummer, when we're at practice, if the drummer gets up from his kit, right, if Rob takes off, sometimes I sit behind the kit, and I've always got the same beat that I do. And I've been in this band for like 5 years, and they go, "Oh no, not again! Can you just learn something else, dude?" But yeah, it is difficult separating those parts of your body. But I guess I ask about moving vinyl because I have an experience when I edit, and I literally feel it in my hands.
Yep.
Like it's gotten to a point, like it didn't happen straight away. Like I do editing, and you think about it as this block process. I'm going to take this bit of media and merge it with this bit, and then merge it with that bit. Yeah. And you'd have this sort of graphic interface that you're working with. But it got to a point where the graphic interface become the sort of gauge, and now I can actually talk faster. Edit faster than I can talk.
Wow.
It's a really weird sensation.
Yeah.
And I literally feel it in my hands. And I've had the same experience writing, like typing. So I guess that's where my curiosity is. Like when you're working with something manually like that, do you feel that music in your hands?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can even, like you can see it. Like you can look at a vinyl and notice from like the density of like the grooves where like the breakdown is, like what, you know, where different parts of the song are. So like, and that's something that I haven't lost, being able to like pick up a vinyl and look at it and go, okay, that's how long the intro is, that's this and this.
Well, that's uber geeky, dude. Looking at vinyl going, yep, there's the breakdown on there on that part of the spiral.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I never thought of that. You could look at it that way, but that makes total sense, right? Yeah. So have you done any shows around the shop?
Yes, I've played plenty of shows in Sydney. I did have a booking in the UK, like just me and Holly had a honeymoon there and had a booking over there. Unfortunately, last minute it got cancelled, but that would have been kind of cool. But yeah, I've played probably hundreds of shows. Like in the early 2000s, it was all vinyl. And I played a bunch then, and then I had like a residency at like a club, like a nightclub, but that just made me like hate like DJing because you're not getting to choose what you play, and you're there for like so long. So you'd have an 8-hour shift of just like playing all these really crappy songs for people. And drunk people coming up going like, play this, play that, play this. And it just made me hate it. So I got out of that and then took a break for a while. And then when I got back into it, I just started going to parties again and getting seen, and made some like kind of mixed CDs and printed them out like in my home printer and made it a thing and handed them all out.
Done a few things like that. Yeah.
And then started getting sets again, like around Sydney, like few parties, Rocket Science and 170 and stuff like that. Well,
it sounds like the contrast between like having a residency, because as an artist, right, you go residency, continuous cash, continuous money coming in, but then you get to that continuous cash, you're like, I fucking hate my life.
Well, that's it. Like it just became not like by choice. Like it became a job. And then after I stepped away from it and came back, it's like, okay, I'm playing a 1-hour set of music that I want to play, and if people like the music that I play, they'll come to watch it. Not like the other way around, where I have to play what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And
well, I suppose it's like a producer mentality. Like, make this movie because that's what's going to sell and that's what's going to make, and you got to stay between these two bandwidths because we know that that's safe. Yeah. And I find things like that really irritating, like, because it crushes the creative spirit.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
there should be kind of no rules with music. Like,
yeah, totally.
Just do what makes you happy, and that's all you have to do. And if everyone's doing that, then...
Well, I find it a bit of a paradox for myself. Like, when I perform, it's about the band that I'm in, and it's about the experience that I'm having. Yeah. But you're there actually performing for a crowd, and then you go, well, the transfer over of that paradox is, well, I want to please people. I want to make people happy. Yeah. Like, you know, it's not... You don't... You know, I did this one gig. We went to this pub, and... the pub advertised it as a rockabilly gig.
All right.
And we showed up as a metal band, playing at a rockabilly gig.
Big difference.
Oh yeah. My drummer came up to me. He goes, because it was a bit of a rough pub. He goes, man, we've got to get out of here. We're going to get knifed, man. They're gonna murder us. I'm like, man, we'll be fine. It's just got to collect the money and we'll go, okay? That was pretty rough. So you don't want to play to crowds that aren't interested in what you're doing. Yeah. Like that doesn't make sense. But I guess as well, like from the other contrast, when you got people moshing to your shit, right, and you go, man, these people are into what we're doing, it's a total buzz. Do you ever have that moment where you go into do a set? Like, do you read the crowd and you go, like, do you have a plan of what you're going to do before, or do you sort of like do what you're going to do when you get there?
So back in the day, I would just kind of load up my crate and plan the first mix, because if I can nail that first mix, and it was vinyl back then, so a lot harder to nail, but if I can nail that first mix, I'll have the confidence to kind of go through the whole set and just pick tunes. And if a tune isn't going great, you just quick mix out of it. Yeah. So then next tune, and if everyone's like loving a tune and they're like hands in the air kind of anthem business, you let it play out to the second breakdown, and that's how you kind of manage the crowd, because it is a lot about tune selection and just enjoying yourself up there. I find if I'm having a really fun time and I like dance around and like really get into it, that comes out, like how much fun I'm having, like
it translates across,
and then the crowd starts having more fun. But sometimes very sketchy on these like poorly built kind of dodgy stages of like pipes and stuff for you to jump around on them.
Oh man, look,
I almost fell through a couple of
I've been scared of falling off stage before. Actually, I'm scared of falling off stage every time for two reasons. Normally, I have a few cleansing ales before I do a gig, so I'm a little bit loose on my feet anyway. But I literally jump around like a crazy turkey, and get crowd involvement. I'll dive into a crowd, no problem. And go up and take a microphone and scream in people's faces. I get quite aggressive with it. Or animated, as people may say.
Yeah.
But I do resonate with that, where if you're having fun, they're probably having fun.
Yeah.
And a big lesson I learned as well is play the same as you would to 20 people that you would to 200.
Oh, absolutely.
Do the same show.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the same show, but do your best performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time. Yeah. So, are you still doing shows?
I had a show booked tomorrow, and it was kind of like a more of a doofy kind of thing, like an outdoor party. And because of all this rain,
they've cancelled on you.
Yeah, the farm is like flooded and stuff. So. Unfortunately, like the party got cancelled, and he's going to have to refund everyone's kind of ticket money. So
it's a bummer.
It's not good for anyone. But yeah, I'm just trying to do more shows where I get to play like my own tunes and get to promote the labels that I'm on and play my friends' kind of music and stuff like that. And in Australia, we're a little bit... Oh, cheers. We're still a little bit behind the curve in terms of like...
Well, how so? What do you mean?
So what's happening in the UK right now is breakbeat and kind of jungle like music is like exploding, and they're having lots of like old school based parties with all old school DJs and all the kind of old school music, like the kind of music that I produce. Here in Australia, they're very hard style and very like hardcore and stuff like that. Like it's just a little bit different musical taste. I don't think they've caught up with like the rest of the world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I must say, I was in I think it was a year ago. I was in Newcastle.
Yeah.
And and I call Newcastle the city of bricks because it's just everything's built out of brick in Newcastle, right? So I was in the city of bricks, and I went past this. It wasn't fully underground; it was definitely a licensed place.
Yeah.
And they were doing like a metal dubstep, like 198 beats. Like it was insane.
Yeah.
I didn't walk in there because if you walked in there, I just would have been like overcome by sound, and there was people like dancing in the street, just eating this up, and I thought it's interesting for a night, but I don't think I could do that every weekend. And then I thought maybe I'm getting old. Maybe as I'm getting old, but I do like your old school style, man. It definitely takes me back to the early noughties and the 90s. Yeah. Because I think I'm still a child that's stuck in the 90s.
Oh, I would never leave them if I had the choice.
Well, I figured out if I just keep the same wardrobe every couple of years, it comes back into fashion anyway. So I have a good couple of years, bad couple of years.
Yep, it's the circle of life. That is, yeah.
But I think perhaps but I've been to different parts of Australia and they're different. The way that way DJs approach things is different.
Yeah.
Any DJ that can get me doing a hand plant and doing a somersault on a dance floor, they're doing their job right.
Yeah.
And you always know when it's original, because you can feel those layers and those references. But what's the? Here's a left fielder for you. What's the beats per minute is the silver bullet to get everyone involved?
In my opinion, I like that range of like 140 to 160. Like it's kind of at 140, it's your more breaks kind of speed. You can do stuff and do stuff with subs that sound like way better at 140. And 160, that's like time to kind of jump around, and that's like the kind of window of where I make tunes. I've made tunes faster. I've made tunes slower, but yeah, that's my little nook there that I...
Yeah, okay, 140 to 160. Yeah, because I think when I've been on dance floors, cutting it up and going, breaking necks and cutting checks.
Yeah.
There's always a point where they do a breakdown, and then they do the breakdown of the breakdown, and there's always part of my mind that goes, break it down again, and then they go for something that's a bit more mellow to have that space, because I think sometimes they go, time to go to the bar.
Yeah.
Need to get them off the floor to go to the bar.
Have a rest, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember taking my ex-girlfriend, now wife.
That's something you don't hear every day. My ex-girlfriend, now wife.
Well, it's technically
correct.
Right. Yep.
I'm totally going to steal that, by the way. No, we're both recently married.
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So big ups, Holly. So I'm taking her to this rave, and this is very early in our relationship, and the rave's called 170, and all the music there is 170 beats per minute.
Yeah, okay.
So she's like, how do I dance to that? Like, how do I keep up with it? And I'm like, you don't have to step on every beat. You step on every second one, and then you've halved your effort output.
Well, sometimes you can hop on the accents.
Yeah.
As well. You don't need to be on the beat. You can hop on the accents. Sometimes I get lost on those accents as well if they're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I just get lost with it. I totally get lost in that kind of music. I can listen, listening to your Night Force broadcast on Saturdays.
Yeah.
I'm doing all kinds of different tasks at the time.
Yeah.
I've been in the car just rocking out to it, going, man, this is really cool. I can just get lost in it. But it's the same thing for metal with me, though. When I listen to a good metal track, I get lost in it.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think when it comes to metal, I don't know. It's complicated. I look at it from a drumming perspective. Also look at it from a decent guitar. You were talking about Dimebag before.
Yeah.
Listening to Dimebag play guitar is melodic.
Yeah.
The guy was a genius. It's hard to replicate something like that. But I noticed as well, you do a lot of the video games when you're doing a broadcast.
Yes. So that's something I started recently because I don't know. I don't know why it is, but people love watching people play video games these days. It's massive.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
And I'm like, well, maybe I'll be able to trick a few people into listening to this music if they just scroll past it and see it's
and just hook in for a little bit.
And just come in and hear something that you've never heard before and be like, I like it, or it's not for me. I don't care, but I want that chance.
Yeah.
I want that 30 seconds of their ear to go okay, see what this is like. And I love retro games. I love Sonic.
I love retro games as well. That's why I bring it up,
Mario.
man. You were just doing, because you had, a little cross window and, maybe a few fades into different, sort of kaleidoscope sort of stuff or fractal sort of stuff, which I like as well, clearly. But you were putting on some Mario and I was like, yeah, man, because we were with I was with a couple of mates in Bathurst.
Yeah.
And, there we are listening to metal while we're playing, Sega Master System, and going to those retro games. So I had this double whammy listening to your show, man, because I'd always listen to the show, but now I watch it.
Wow.
I started watching it since you started putting the video games on there. Because, you want to see Sonic win, man. You want to see Mario win.
And it takes you back to when you were just a kid sitting there in front of your CRT television just playing for 11 hours.
Yeah. Oh, man, hasn't it moved along? When you think about it that way.
Yeah.
Remember we were on CRTs playing Nintendo Sega Master System, and it was the shit.
Oh, it was amazing. You're like, look at these graphics.
Yeah.
They're so good.
But now, you play sort of Marvel versions of Street Fighter on your phone. They just wipe it out of the park, right?
Oh, easily. And even recently we've been doing this VR thing. So you get all suited up and they put a vest on you that shocks you when you're getting bitten by zombies and stuff.
Oh, like an interaction sort of suit.
And you're in a room, just a big dark room, but as soon as you put those goggles down, you're in a zombie apocalypse and they're all coming in hordes and
wow.
shooting all of them. Yeah, but what a like massive journey from like Sonic to this.
Well, man, I'm an analog kid. Like I'm a digital immigrant, man. There's no doubt about it. Like I was watching a video of my nephews who are between 13 and 9. They're in that age bracket, and I was watching a video of them trying to use a dial tone phone. Hilarious. Could not figure it out. And I just thought, wow, we've moved from this analog age into this digital age, and now we're in this digital age that's going even more digital. Yeah. Like, and we're in this thing where we don't know what it is. Like, I find it interesting. You talk about vinyl, and then moving into, well, I've got it in my pocket in this little chip.
Yep.
And I can plug that chip in, and then I can take my samples from that, and then I can create my work.
Yeah, and it's the same in like music production. I've got a program now that has like hundreds of keyboards, and in the 90s I would have had to have a room that had all of those keyboards, but now they emulate them so well that I can just go, okay, Korg M1.
Yeah, love plugins, man.
Yeah.
Love plugins. I like being doing editing. You'd normally have to build your own plugins. You don't have to build them anymore, because if you look hard enough, you'll find the plugin you're looking for.
Someone's always made one, yeah.
Well, with that said, though, I still like to nerd out and build my own plugins. But yeah, it certainly has changed. Like even across all things, man. And I think we're just in this world where we just don't know what it is. And I just think doing what we're doing in our region and doing what we're doing as artists is that we're bringing this analog knowledge to this digital platform. Yep. And I think, and it's funny that you talk about, I'd like to keep in touch with the vinyl. Yeah. Because you want to hold on to that piece of history.
Absolutely.
And then bring that into what you're doing now. And even terminology that we use through these digital platforms is from an analog world, and I talk to people now about it. Like when you do editing for film, you'll put things into bins. Yep. And the reason they call them bins is because it used to be literally film that you cut
and put in a real bin.
Put in a bin. So instead of calling it a folder, they just call it a bin. And I'd have young people saying to me, well, younger, not that I'm really old, but younger people, why don't just call it a folder? Like, well, it's called a bin because when they used to cut celluloid film, it would fall into a bin. Yeah. And then you'd have the cutting room floor, and that's after the bin, right? So we have these terminologies that we bring across, and I think there's a fear. There's a fear of losing some of that that knowledge, and getting too caught up in the digital world. I was talking to a composer last week on the show. Big shout out to Anisha. There's a reluctance sometimes to play an instrument to create a sample when you can just go get a MIDI and do the same thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And I like the experience with editing. At one point, do we lose that feeling at the end of our touch? Yeah. And I find it, I don't know if it's a bad thing. I don't want to be alarmist about it, but there certainly is a fear in me about that.
Yeah, well, I have the fear of I read an article this week about an AI program that they said, okay, figure out every single melody possible, and it just ticked over, and then it's okay, here is all of music forever, and it's
yeah, well, that's a bit of a spoiler, isn't it?
There goes my job.
Yeah. Well, they've even done it for lawyers as well. They get computers now that can look up law. Yeah, so lawyers are becoming people are worried about truck drivers and autonomous driving. Even lawyers have got to worry about their job, right? Yeah. But I had a mate that was into Fruity Loops. Yeah. And Fruity Loops does random beat computations.
Really?
Yeah, and he was saying to me, he goes, some of those songs that come out there, it's probably just someone who's on Fruity Loops going, randomise,
and then found
that one sounds right, let's do that one, and then rework it. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me if some of the music that's out there now that we go, that's a fucking awesome song. Yeah. That it actually come out of a randomised Fruity Loops drum beat.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah. I just, losing that human touch. I think that's something to be, I don't know, wary of. I don't know if scared or fearful is the right word. Even though we're evolving, is at what cost? I suppose that's what the fear is, what cost, right? Because lugging your vinyl around Maybe heavy,
Yeah.
but it's on your hands, right? It's you.
And
You're
it's
the
real.
computer.
Yeah.
You're the computer.
Yeah.
And once we start transferring over, letting the computer be us,
Yeah.
that's like it goes exponential from there, right?
And you lose that ability. Like, I remember when Pioneer, you know, they've been a leader in making like CD drive DJ decks and stuff like that. They invented this sync button. So if that deck is playing at 160 beats per minute, you just press the sync button and then
it marries it.
It marries it. And even if you press like the play button at the wrong time, it will go, no, I think you meant to press it here.
So if you have a latency of pressing it,
Yep.
it will figure out your mistake.
It'll figure out your mistake and it'll line them up perfectly.
Oh, that's insane.
And it just makes it like no effort at all. Like anyone could step up
And be an operator.
DJ immediately as good as I can.
Yeah, wow.
And I've done it for 20 years. And someone could just walk up today and be like, I'm
figure it
as
out.
good as you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's the same thing when I do sound sync for film. Because when you take voices on a separate recorder and you take it to vision, you
Yeah.
need to synchronize the image to the sound.
Yeah.
And that's what a clapper's for.
Yeah.
You know, when they do a clapper, they do scene 1.1, take 1, right? And then you take that one frame where it meets and you match it with a peak of
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah.
And that's called synchronization. I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in years.
There's an automatic thing now. I know, like, I edited one of Dr. Holly's videos, and I'm like, okay, so how do I get them, like, right on time? YouTubed it. They said, use this thing.
You lose pluralize?
click.
Was it pluralize?
Yeah, something that just
Well, you used
perfectly
to have,
matched up.
Well,
there.
here's the thing. There used to be a separate software called Pluralize, and then you'd take that, export it, and import it into your edit software.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that anymore because the edit software does it for you.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, in Final Cut Pro, I had to create my own shortcut to do it because it didn't have its own shortcut. But I go, my shortcut is Command-Shift-W, and I can select a myriad of clips.
Yeah.
Right? That have been shot at different points of the day, no clapper.
Yeah.
No sync point. It will just take voice and match sound waves.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and that is so much work that I do now by doing a 3-finger simultaneous push.
Yeah.
And a command select, 1 finger, done.
There's even a thing in Cubase now. Like, I use Cubase.
Another Cubase guy.
Yeah, it's very good. I like it.
Not Logic. Don't do Logic.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a function within Cubase now that so you've got your MIDI piano kind of all mapped out. It will like randomize it and hit the keys at like different velocities and also offset them a little bit, and it makes it sound like it's a real person playing.
Oh, so
it
puts in perfection.
Yeah. It puts a little imperfection, and it really does like liven up piano.
Yeah, because
Like
it puts human. It's digitally
weird.
putting a
Yeah,
human
yeah.
touch to it. What a strange concept.
Yeah.
Because the software's too perfect, it's then putting in a computation.
Like tiny fractions of mistakes of like how people's fingers would work.
Because it is a very astute, man. Like, the way that we hear things is amazing.
Yeah.
We will hear something before we see it, which is strange because, like, light travels faster than sound.
Yeah.
But we hear it before we see it. If you took 25 frames of of 1 second of footage and remove one frame,
Yep.
no one will notice.
Yeah.
They won't notice. If you remove the same equivalent of sound, they'll notice immediately.
will notice, yeah.
You'll notice immediately. Your brain will go, something's wrong with that.
Yeah.
People that are trained or experienced in that will go, oh, it's missing a frame of sound. So if you mess with sound in that way and it's something that's too perfect, your brain goes, oh, well, the computer made that.
Yeah.
But now the computer is going, how do you know?
Exactly.
That's
One step ahead.
Yeah, wow. Oh, man, I don't know, that game that's like, I don't want to be alarmist about those things. Like, I suppose it comes down to that existential question. Like, is it better to have a human touch or is it better to have better? What is actually better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will people be able to tell the difference in a few years? Like,
Yeah.
If you can write a bit of code that writes songs, like, is the next big artist AI? Like,
Yeah.
is that your new kind of
Yeah.
Billboard, like, number one? a song made by code.
Well, imagine that there probably is the musical singularity, right? Like, because they've got the technological singularity when they emulate the human brain, and 1 year's time, it's twice the speed. Maybe there's a musical singularity out there where the first time that we have a Billboard chart #1 was made entirely by a machine.
And if you think about it, like, it could just keep running millions of, like,
until it finds the one that's
until
right.
it finds the one that's right, and it could do them way faster. Like, when I make a song, it takes time. Like, it takes a lot of time, and some days it's just not happening, and then you stop and step away from it.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into writing, right? Like, whatever you're writing, whether it's a guitar line, a drum line, some text for a film, whatever it is, you will find yourself at a point where you're looking at a blinking cursor.
Yeah.
And you could have all kinds of stuff going on in your life. They do say that a painful artist is a good artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. People that are under duress usually write better because all they've got is this thing.
Yeah.
If everything's working hunky-dory for you, generally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I must say, like, some of my best performances on stage have been when I've been sleep deprived, run down, working 3 jobs, doing a degree.
Wow.
And haven't slept properly in days, and now I've got to do this show and jump around and headbang in front of a crowd and do screamo into a microphone. Okay, this is not going to go well. And I've walked off stage going, that's the best show I've ever fucking done. Does the machine feel that? Does the machine go through those processes? Of success and failure, and I don't know what's the importance of it. I suppose it gets even more exponential. Like, do you think about, well, what is art?
Yeah.
What is it? I think a good example is the duplication of the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Because the Mona Lisa, like, it's not that spectacular.
We saw it recently.
Have you seen it?
And I was like, look at that other wall. There's a painting 100 times bigger, and it's fucking awesome. And then all these people are in this 1 hour line
to see this one little picture.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller than I thought, and it's not spectacular compared to everything else at the Louvre. Like the Louvre, just the building is like,
yeah, impressive.
Yeah, and then
you got this.
You're filtered into this tiny little room, and
it's probably fake as well. They probably don't have the real one up, right?
Yeah.
But I think that one image has been duplicated so many times, it's lost its value, right? It loses its value from duplication. But there's this one guy. He got I think like maybe 10,000 paint guns and tubes, and he programmed them all and coloured them all to shoot the Mona Lisa in one shot.
Wow.
Yeah, so he does a paintball gun, like, Mona Lisa. And he did it on like a big wall.
Yeah.
And you go, well, is that art? Because that's a technical, a feat to do so.
Yeah.
And then you would start going, well, it was artistic for him to put that together. And
the process.
The process
is definitely artistic. Yeah.
And, but is the thing that remains on the wall art? So, like, a computer's done this.
Yeah.
He's programmed the computer. He's built the computer. He built the machine.
Yeah.
But he's not the artist that painted the picture.
No.
The machine did. So I think that's an interesting way to think about it. Like, because we're in this adolescent stage on so many platforms, and we've got so many struggles ahead of us. And like, they're easy to name. Like, currently we've got the coronavirus going on. We've just come out of the bushfires. We've just come out of the floods.
Yeah, it's been one thing after the other.
There's one thing after the other, right? And I think if you really count humanity, that's a common cause. Like, through the last few centuries at least, and perhaps even longer, we've been going through these struggles. But the thing that's bound us together is, human exploration of the mind.
Yeah.
The discovery of science and the idea to measure things, and then the importance of art. Where would we be without Hemingway? Where would we be without Mark Twain? Where would we be without Michelangelo? Because these people have inspired people to do big things.
Yeah.
But then you look at these technical giants, your Bill Gates, your Steve Jobs. These people have changed the world. I was watching a TEDx today, actually, of a woman. I wish I had Nate here to look this person up, because she was an absolutely fabulous person.
Yeah.
She did the computer programming for the lunar lander. So she wrote it from start to finish, wrote the ones and zeros, the code that landed a device with people in it on the moon.
Yeah.
That same code is used in every computer today.
Wow.
Right? And it, basically, every flight that's ever been taken that has a computer on it that measures that, if you have an alarm where your engine fails, it's her software that tells you that engine's failing.
Yeah.
70 years later, or we're up to 60 years later. 50 years later. That's right. It's 1969. No, carry the one. But a good half century later, right? We're still using that woman's invention. To do something fucking fantastic. And you might look at that as science, but there's certainly an art to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think a question is, once we start getting computers to start calculating how to navigate to Mars, who's the artist? The guy that built the computer? Or the computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, scary stuff. I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think what do you reckon? Should the phone go in?
Like, for me, art is something that just makes you feel something. So it can be like I love movies, I love music. If I get the chills from something, that's art to me. I can walk through a gallery and go okay, there's a photo of something, I could do that, I'm not impressed. Or I could hear just a really nice piano line and get chills immediately and go, okay, that's art. But I don't know who wrote that or something. When I hear something on the radio, I'm just oh, this is great, I love this. I've got no form of context of okay, this was that person or this was that band. So I think if a computer,
how you're affected by it. Yeah, I think that's I think there's something in that. There definitely is something in that. But we've been on such a journey of what art is. I just think it's interesting to see where we're going, and I think I would hate for a meteorite to hit this small ball of dirt and for it all to be lost.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a shame. I think that'd be a real shame.
Well, that recently I went to Paris on the honeymoon, and I was thank God that they gave up in World War II, or not gave up, but stopped before Paris
Destroying
got bombed, because that is the most beautiful city I've ever been to, and it was just amazing walking around. And that whole city is a piece of art. Everything there is just amazing and beautiful and historic and real.
Well, I had the same experience in Florence. I got to see the statue of David.
Yeah,
and when you think of before you've seen the statue of David, you think about it in terms of a fridge magnet. You think about it as this symbol of, this man standing with a sash.
Yeah.
But then when you see it and you see how detailed it is and the scale of it, the scale of David is huge. I think it's 1 to 10. I think it's 10 times bigger than a human.
Wow.
But it looks in proportion as a human.
Yeah.
Carved out of a solid piece of marble. And you go, insane, incredible how someone did that. And that's human. That's that 1% human. That's that dime bag playing that open tuning, getting that guitar riff. That's that Michelangelo carving out the feature of a hand. I just don't think a computer could ever look at the world that way. But who am I to say, though? Who am I to say? I think that's my reservation about it. But don't get me wrong, I'm excited about because I've got the iWatch. I constantly have an earpiece in.
We'll think now, when are you without your phone?
Never.
It's become part of us.
Nah. Well, it's the extension. It's Marshall McLuhan said, man, that these devices are the extension of us. The medium is the message.
Yeah.
Holly would dig that. I mentioned that to Holly. He spoke about the medium is the message tonight. She's like, oh yes, Marshall McLuhan. No, but Marshall McLuhan also said that we are the sex organs of technology. Which is a strange thing. And then I started thinking about that. I go, well, we are a cybernetic organism. we're plugged into this thing that's called Facebook, and we feed it information. It even takes information off us unwillingly that we don't know about.
Yeah.
It's same with Instagram. Same when... if you have a website, doing a podcast, doing a show, we're feeding this digital machine.
Yeah.
But we're the organic thing that's feeding this digital machine. So we're actually in a symbiotic relationship. It's a cybernetic organism.
Wow.
And then you start realizing that, and we're like, wow, we're like kind of like in this proto-cyborg stage. Because at one point, the phone's going in.
Yeah.
Like, it's going in our body.
Yeah.
The phone will be the extension, but I guess the fear is that we become superfluous and the machine
kind of takes over. Yeah.
I think that's the fear. Losing that humanity, and losing the idea of that could be a guy called Michelangelo to make such beautiful things, or Leonardo. I think it was Leonardo that did David. Was it Leonardo? Need a podcast producer, Nate. Where are you, buddy?
Might be Michelangelo. It's definitely one of the turtles.
Yeah. But a big shout out to Nate. I know you're having your anniversary tonight. I love you, bud. I'm just taking the piss. But look, man, I think we've come to the end.
All right.
How do we find you? So you're on Night Force. Where do we find DJ Ross Fader?
So you can check me out on Saturdays on nightforceradio.com or on Facebook Live. My page is facebook.com/DJ Ross Fader. And I've got 2 EPs out. So my first EP, the Night School EP, is on nightforcerevolution.com. And my second EP, called the Pianist Envy EP, is on Lazarus Hardcore. So check out Lazarus Hardcore's Bandcamp.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the Lazarus Hardcore, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been enjoying that. But you did pronounce that very well. The Pianist
Envy.
Very good. Yeah.
Also got a vinyl coming out later this year.
Oh, really?
So that's very exciting for me, and
Yeah, so watch your space for the vinyl. Be sure to check out Night Force and DJ Ross Fader online. And as well, don't forget to subscribe to the Pagey Train. We are also now on Spotify, iTunes, and Anchor. So be sure to check us out there. And guys, if you're looking for something to be done promo-wise or Foley-wise, check out Still Searching Productions. You can personal message me at Still Searching Productions on Facebook, or you can email me at stillsearchingproductions@gmail.com. Thank you for joining the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man. That's it. We're done, bro.
Cool.